Hello and welcome to Queued Pixel. Today I'm continuing my work on Minecraft open source plugin development. Last stream I was working on a Minecraft plugin to integrate the ShopChest plugin with Dynmap. The objective was to create regions on the dynamic map to show what shops are available, what is being bought or sold, and what the price is, and various information about it. I've made a lot of progress with it. The last stream I was able to sort by item name, which makes it easy to find a specific item that you're looking for. I've added vendor name to the table, so if a region has multiple shops, or shops from multiple vendors, we get to see who is the vendor for each individual shop. So if you're looking for a specific vendor, you can find that. We display infinite inventory and free space for admin shops. And let's see, I see Steve Void 1990. You're that guy that made that spaceship game. I know your voice. Yes, hello, Steve Void 1990. Yes, I did have another channel. That was probably a year or two ago. I forget exactly when. Unfortunately, that endeavor kind of fell through, so I've started my own new thing at this point in the form of Queued Pixel, and welcome back. And yes, the spaceship game was, I think it was Ready, Aim, Click is what we called that. A simple kind of space shooter. But yeah, kind of moved on from that onto Minecraft development and a few other things I'll be working on as I progress here. And great to see you again as well, Steve Void 1990. See, Steve Void says, yes, used a JS library if I remember correctly. Yeah, I forget exactly how that worked. It was all in JavaScript. And I think at least the very first version was mostly handwritten. I don't know if... we certainly would have used a library here or there. But I forget. I think we were using like CoffeeScript and a few other things. I'm not exactly sure how it all fit together at this point. It's been a couple of years. But yeah, that would have been me. And back to the Minecraft stuff here. The last change that we did was to set up a scheduled job to update shop information on the map every hour. Steve Void says, yes, CoffeeScript. Yeah, I think that was the unusual thing we were working with was CoffeeScript, because me and the person I was working with kind of liked some of the improvements that CoffeeScript had over JavaScript. And so, yes, that was me. Now, one of the things I ran into with this plugin, in fact, it might be best to demonstrate this. So let me just do a visual representation of what this plugin does. First, I want to update the schedule task to go instead of 1 hour, let's say, what's a minute? And this will help demonstrate one of the issues that I'm dealing with. What the plugin does is we basically, every time this runs, it gets all inventory, or all shops from the ShopChest plugin. Yeah, here it is for shop, and ShopChest got shop utils, get shops. We iterate over all of them. We build a lot of information. It's not terribly relevant. But one of the things that is kind of tricky that we do... thank you for the follow, Steve Void. I do appreciate that. So you got sidetracked here. Let's see if I can remember what I was doing. We build a whole bunch of information here, a bunch of HTML for the shop. We have the vendor. We've got the item that's being sold. This is all the header information here. And for those who actually want to look at this code, as I say in the channel description, this is all open source, and you can go view my code on github.com/queuedpixel/dynmap-shopchest. That is one key difference from the space game, which is the space game was closed source and wasn't able to share the source code with you. This code I am. So if you do want to check this out, you're welcome to go to GitHub, and all the code is there. Yes, Antiform LLC. That is the channel I was working with a couple years ago. And unfortunately, that partnership kind of fell apart, and I don't do that anymore. So I kind of broke out and did my own thing. I wanted to just kind of create my own name for myself, and here I am with Queued Pixel. Let's see, just trying to remind myself of how this worked. It's been a couple of weeks since I've worked on this. I was out of town for a little bit, and just it's always harder to read code than write it, as I've discovered. Here is the line that I'm looking for. So we have this marker set that we use to create the markers inside the Dynamic Map plugin. And if that already exists when we run, we try to delete it first. So if marker set is not null, then we delete it, and then we create it again and do all the work I just went through. And the bug I ran into is this doesn't work the way I would expect. That the old marker set is not actually deleted out of the map if you have the map open, and so you just get layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and it just doesn't work very well. So let me build this and deploy it, and let's give it a test. Still builds pretty quickly. Go ahead and copy that to my plugins folder and start up our server. Now this plugin will still dump out a lot of debug information for each shop. That's what we see right there. This is every single shop and information about it. Then we output information on the regions and how many shops are in each region. Then to see the visual information, we need to go to my local server, port 8123, to bring up the map. And here are all the regions. Let's go turn off land claims and click on shops. And this is what it looks like right now. This is my shop or my region on this server. I'm selling various colors of wool. I'm selling enchanted fishing rods. Although some of these are set up specifically on my local test server and are not the same on the actual production server. If you do play Minecraft and you want to check this out, you can open up our server on play.aboutwonder.com. And I'll go have our bot announce that in chat as well. And that server is up right now, so if you do want to play, you're welcome to go to it. But I'm obviously working on my local development server for the stream today. But I do occasionally log into the server. I do run it with a friend of mine who is also, I believe, is in chat. Pixelgrief, I saw in chat, and helps run that server with me as well. So yeah, so this is what's on the test server here. We could see the items, the amount, that's basically how many you are buying or selling with each transaction, the cost to buy, the number available to purchase, the price I will pay you if you are selling, and the number available that you can sell, the inventory space. That's all the information that's displayed. Now I'm going to refresh this real fast. And you saw that the shops just got a little bit darker. What's happening is each time that timer runs, about once a minute, it basically adds another layer on top of the existing layer, and it just gets darker and darker and darker. And I'm not sure what to do about that, because if someone buys or sells from a shop, I want the latest information to be available. The workaround I've come up with right now is if you refresh the page as I just did, it does make the issue go away, at least temporarily, until the next scheduled job runs. So I was like, well, let's run this scheduled job once an hour. If somebody actually sees the issue, let's have them refresh, and it's not that big of a deal. However, there's another plugin I'm also working on called CoreCraft that is going to make a lot more use of the dynamic map plugin. Oh, see, it just got darker yet again. So the issue is still present. Each time the scheduled job runs, it just adds another layer and just keeps making these things darker and darker and darker. Steve1990 says, page does not load for me. Too long to respond. That is not actually a URL. That is the host to use to connect to the server. If you just want to bring up the map for our server, I think this is the URL to use for the map. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so use that URL to connect and display the map on our public server. But if you wanted to play, you need to fire up Minecraft and use play.aboutwonder.com as the host name for that server. But you won't be able to actually connect to that directly as a web server, using a web browser. Aha, Steve Void is not familiar with Minecraft. No worries. Yeah, I guess I always kind of figure and assume that everyone is familiar with Minecraft, but it's a good reminder that not everyone is quite familiar with it. But yeah, you'll need to have the Minecraft client to actually connect to that server. So this is the problem, that these regions, these markers are not deleted. They just keep getting added and added and added and added. And this other CoreCraft plugin that I talked about, I don't have a lot of information available about it, but the code as is also available on GitHub, github.com/codepixel/CoreCraft. That's QORCRAFT. And this is going to be a lot more dynamic, where there's going to be stuff moving on the server, and I'm going to want to track it a lot faster than this is allowing me to track. And we can see this is just continuing to get darker and continuing to get worse. I'll refresh the page again, and the issue is gone. So the workaround is to refresh the page, which is okay for this plugin, but not so great for CoreCraft or other plugins that rely on more dynamic access to the map. So my thought here is I want to stop the server. Steve1990 asks, is map the entire Minecraft universe? It is the entire Minecraft universe for our server. And so let me bring up the production version of our map here. Oops. Copy paste is not working so hot in chat. Yeah, so this is the current production version of our server. And everything you see here is, this is the overworld here, the main world here. There's multiple worlds involved. We have the Nether, which is a kind of an underground world, and the End. There seems to be a problem with the map for the End. And somebody has really gone out and done a lot of work there. I thought I fixed this bug. I thought I had fixed it so that the End rendered correctly, but clearly it is not rendering correctly anymore. Now here is a more complete version of the End. And so everything that you see in the map in all three worlds is the map for our server. And Steve1990 says that seems really large. Yes, it is pretty large. I've actually built a long road going north here. You can see this kind of blue line that ends up in this red line. It takes me oh, a good 5 to 10 minutes to walk from our spawn area down here to the end of that road. And that, you can see how that's just kind of a small portion of what's actually been rendered on a server. So yeah, it is pretty substantial. So yeah, I don't think anyone's on right now. If anyone was, we would be able to see them and see what they do, and we'd have real-time updates at what they do in the map. Now, for fixing the dynamic map, one of the things I want to do today is to look at this dynamic map plugin and see if I can figure out what's going on and see if I can come up with a simple fix to fix the problem, because I really do want to be able to rely upon this plugin to work properly. So to do this, I first want to kind of do some basic testing and see if I can figure out kind of a simple case as to what can reproduce this problem. So I'm actually going to remove my problematic plugin, this Dynamic Map ShopChest plugin, because I don't think I need that for this testing. I'm going to log in as an administrator and see if I can reproduce some of these issues with this plugin and see if I can just come up with what the issue is. So in the meantime, I'm going to go over here to our local map. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to fire up Minecraft. And log in as my admin account. Try to get both things open at the same time here so we can actually see what's going on. Alright, so I'm logged in on my local testing server. So you're trying to figure out where my stuff is. I want to go to this side just to come up with a little area I can test in. There are some monsters that want to kill me. What I'll do is I'll make myself invisible so monsters won't kill me. And I'll say Dynmap show, so I still show up on the map. I just want to experiment with creating some markers out here. I think it's the demarker command. Demarker, valid, add area, add circle, add corner. Let's try list sets. So we have group prevention marker set label land claims hide false, priority 5, def icon default, markers label markers. So let's see if I want to add a set. Add set test. Ah, there it is. So there's my test set. Let's see if I want to add a add circle, add, how about add area? Oh, these two corners must be added with a demarker add corner before an area can be added. All right. So let's say add corner. Then let's add a second corner down here. So this added area 1 to set markers. So not quite what I wanted. It'd be nice if we had a little more help with what this was doing. And why am I invisible again? Something seems kind of broken. I should still be visible, and I'm not. Let me just make sure that this hasn't crashed. No, nothing so far. Let's try a Dynmap. Hide. I should be visible, and I'm not. Okay, well, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm going to continue to add an additional marker and just see what this does here. See, D marker, add corner. Then we'll say add area. Let's see if I can add that to test. Add an area, ID area underscore 2 test to set markers. So still not add it into the right set. Type error. Player health container is undefined. Learn more. So it looks like something has crashed. Not sure what the issue is. Let's refresh and see if the second area shows up. Ah, there it is. And there I am again. Yeah, so we have area 1, the first one I added, then we have area 2, or test, that I just added, and none of them have been added to the test layer. Oh, I bet I know what happened. I turned my player layer off. Let's turn that back on. That must be why I didn't show up. Alright, so let's try another marker. Let's add a corner here. And we've added yet another test marker. So I'm not sure how to add it to my test set. Let's see, update set test. Set test updated. What if that set is active and now I can add stuff to this set? Yeah, still adding everything to the markers set. So just let me go over the list again. So we have add area, add circle, add corner, add icon, add line, add set. So we've used add set to add the test set. Delete, delete, delete area, delete circle, delete icon, delete line, delete set, icons. List areas, list circles, list lines, list sets. Well, it's not obvious how to add something to a specific set. I've tried it a couple times, and it's just not working. So let's try list sets. So we have test, colon, label test, hide false, priority 0, default icon default. So can I delete set, dmarker, delete set, test. And does that actually delete it out of here? So it still shows up there. No issue in the console. And if I refresh, it is gone. So that's certainly part of the issue. If I add a set and then later delete it, it doesn't go away. And so if then I add it again, it's going to kind of clobber it. Demarker list areas. Let's see what we got here. We have area 1, area 2, area 3. And so can I do demarker, delete area, how about area 4? And that got deleted. Well, that's encouraging. I wonder if I can just delete the area rather than try to delete the entire set. Let's see if I can delete the other areas here. Delete 3. Area not found. Area 3. Well, it's right there. Let's try to list the areas again. We have area 3, area 2. Let's try it by its label. We'll say delete area test. Delete area 3 test. Huh. Then if I delete that again, it should delete area 2. Okay. And then what's left? We have list areas. We have area 1. Well, that's encouraging in that it is allowing me to delete these areas. It's a little discouraging that it's requiring me to list them by their label as opposed to their identifier. And so what I might want to do is test this in our code and see what we're able to do here. So let's quit out and try a quick code test. So let's take this line. So if it's not null, We'll just return. And what do we want to do here? Actually, I want to use the else. I'm just going to make a very simplified version of this that's going to do just a very small amount of stuff. Let's just create one kind of hand-coded area marker here. Let's just go return after this. We'll comment out everything else. Just so we have a nice, simple kind of test setup. We'll give it a hand-coded ID. So we'll put this in the world. Looks like it's lowercase world. And for X, Y, Z, we need X left, X right, that's right, we're setting up 4 corners here. So let's go add in, let's see, so the leftmost is going to be negative, so let's say negative 100. Negative 100. Positive 100. And then top, looks like we go negative as we go north. So top will be negative 100. Bottom is positive 100. And then negative 100 again. So this will give us a nice, simple square in the middle of our world, just so we can test things out and see what this does. And so the last thing we want to do here is let's go say marker set dot let's hop and have like a delete by name. What we could do is add in another marker here. This dot area marker dot what delete marker. So simplest possible case. We run this. The first time it runs through, it creates the set, creates the priority. Then we create this marker. Then the second time through, we delete the marker. So let's see what that does. See all my server command testing there. So for 100, we need to look for 0, 0 here. It's right around in here is 0, 0. So we'll wait for the map to refresh and see what this does for us here. All right, so we have our area. This is kind of our test area here. There's the UID. And so when 1 minute hits, this should be deleted. And I just want to see if that works. Ah, the marker does get deleted. So that's quite encouraging. Now, I thought I had tried that with my plugin before, and it didn't work. So I'm not sure why not. So let's continue to experiment and see if we could figure out why that may have not worked. So I think I want to undo all the changes here and go back to what we had before. So let's see if I could just undo all of that and have that work. Great. Actually, I do want to test one other thing here. Oops. Control Y is not redo, but Control Y is delete the current line. And I just lost my whole undo buffer. Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, Control Shift Z is redo. So I don't have an easy access to the code I just wrote. Well, let's try the more elaborate test instead then. So let's say this dot marker set. Can I get a list of all markers? So we have get markers. And this is going to be for marker inside this. Yeah, so let's try this. We will just hand delete every marker. Well, not hand delete it, but iterate over every marker, try to delete it. And see if that works. Oh, and let's do a return here so I don't actually do anything just yet. All right, so our test code, our debug code is back. So let's go bring up our map and see what this does for us here. So it should get us all the regions we had before, and then 1 minute later should delete them. Yeah, so our regions are back. Let's go zoom in on just our shops. And give it a minute and see what happens. So I didn't set a timer, so I'm not sure how long to wait here. Let's go check the console log. This started at 2:29:13. So 2:30:13 should be the time it should attempt to delete all these markers. Check the console log. I don't see anything here. Sometimes I have discovered that the dynamic map does kind of crash and dump some stuff to the console log, but I'm not seeing that. Let's see if I can figure out what regions we're looking at here. So the first region we would have added would have been world x left is -91, x right is -79. So -91 to 79. -91 to 79. That could be that. It's not that one. Definitely not that one. So it must be this one, must be the first one. And the top was 52, the bottom 64. Yeah, so this is the region that should be deleted and is not being deleted. So I think we need to come up with a more elaborate test scenario to see why this isn't working. So if I do if I create just one region or one area marker and delete that one area marker directly, it works. If I add a whole bunch and then iterate over all of them to delete them, that does not work. Now we have this exception, but I think this is dynamic map grief prevention. This is a different plugin, so I'm going to ignore this exception here. That's not me. And so yeah, I think we need to just come up with a second scenario that is a little more complicated to see if we can try to reproduce this issue. So let's take a look. I'm going to keep this here because I think this is a good indication of the issue. What I'm going to do is hand code another area marker. I'll be sure to save this code this time so I don't have to redo it. Actually, one thing I might try to do is I'm going to give it the random... I'm going to give it the random identifier, but then give it a hand-coded name or label, and see if there's... because we found with the console version that it wanted to delete using the label and not the identifier. And so I just want to see if there's a similar issue here, if they have a difference between the label and the identifier, whether that causes the problem. So that's kind of the simple test I wanted to do last time, and it didn't do because I deleted all the stuff I had done. So left will say -100. Right we'll say is 100. Top is -100. Bottom is 100. All right, so basically, and so there's two changes here. We have let's see, to make it so there's only one change, let me go like this. We'll say string ID is equal to this. Because I want to be kind of scientific about this and only change one thing at a time. So this is identical to the last test I made, except that instead of deleting the marker individually, I'm iterating over all the markers and deleting them that way. But everything else should be the same. So let's see if this works. And if this does not work, then there might be an issue with deleting markers inside an iterator like this. And depending on how their plugin handles deletion, that could make pretty good sense, because I know Java has some issues with deleting things inside a collection when you're iterating over the collection, and usually that causes problems. Normally it throws an exception, but it's possible this plugin is eating that exception and not giving it to us. So this may help to indicate if that is an issue. Let's give it a try. Now, if I can find a convenient workaround for this without having to open up the Dynamic Map plugin itself and make changes to it, this would be fantastic. I was kind of all prepared today to crack open the Dynamic Map plugin and start poking around and see if I have to make a pull request to get this to work. But if I can find a workaround, that would be far preferable for me. Certainly less work. And I know the Dynamic Map plugin has had a lot of changes to support the latest version of Minecraft, the 1.13. And so it's probably going to be hard to do a pull request right now, because I think they're still in the middle of that work. So ideally I could come up with a workaround and just change my code without changing their code. So just waiting a minute here. I counted my timer starting about 2:37 p.m. So I'll give it to about 2:38 and change, and see if this goes away. I give it about 10 more seconds or so. I suspect it should be done by now. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that should have been deleted. I don't see an exception here other than the, well, ShopChest has its own exception now. That's great. And this is still around. So let's go refresh the map. And the region is still there. So to test this, let's go recreate our first test and see if this iterator is actually part of the issue. Let's see, where's our marker set? There it is. We'll say private area marker is equal to null. Not that it matters, but we'll initialize it anyways. This.area marker is equal to that. We set all that up, and then let's comment out this. So now we're going to delete it by hand. Oh, there's another exception. Here is J Dynamic Map Grief Prevention has its own exception. And so yeah, this is still present. I'm pretty well convinced that the bug is present here. This should have cleared out by now. It didn't take that long when it was working. So I'm convinced that it's broken. Let's go build this new version and deploy it and see what this does. Now again, this is basically going back to the original version that I thought would work, or that I found did work, and I'm hoping will work again. I just want to confirm that this does indeed work, and I don't have any other weird effects going on that I haven't noticed. So waiting a second for the map to refresh. Yeah, so about 240 and 50 seconds, the map refreshed, so I would hope by the time we hit 241, or let's say 242, this region should go away, assuming this is working again. And I know it's no fun to kind of sit here in silence while I wait. I do try to keep talking a little bit, but it is a little tough to keep chatting while we're just waiting for something to occur or not occur. Oh, it is gone. So yeah, that iterator seems to be part of the issue. All right, so I'm just trying to think through what to do next. I don't want to delete this because I keep having to go back to this for testing. So I think what I want to do is just open up a new notepad and just dump it in. So if I need this back, I can copy paste it back. But what I do want to do is now undo all this, go back to what I had before. Maybe if I want to go back to where we have all of our regions. Just undoing all of this work here. But I think I do want to keep this. I'm going to keep that. Yeah, so this we know doesn't work. This iterator doesn't work if there's one region or a dozen regions or more. And so what I think we need to do is create our own data structure for tracking these area markers and delete based on that rather than using this iterator to delete them. Now let's see if that works for us here. So let's create a private... Doesn't even really matter what it is. Let's go with a collection of area markers. Area marker. Area markers is equal to null. Actually, no, let's say new. We'll go with linked list. It doesn't really matter. So we have our area markers. Let's say... Let's go area marker in this dot. And now the only thing that's left is to actually add area markers to this. Let's go see where we create our area markers. Towards the bottom here, we create area marker, area... Let's go rename this area marker. Let's say this dot area markers dot add area marker. So same code as before, except I'm adding each marker as I create it to my own internal collection. And then when I go to delete markers, I iterate over our own internal collection instead. And so let's see if this works. I'm a little concerned we still potentially have an iterator issue here, but I'm hopeful that by iterating over my own internal collection rather than the collection managed by Dynmap, this will not have that same issue. So let's go give this a test and see what this does. So I've copied over our new version. We'll run our server, look for the debug information. There it is. Now let's go to our map and wait for that to refresh here. So the first display should be all of our regions, all of our shop regions. That's what we should see first. Then if it works, they should all vanish. Let's go make our land claims vanish so that we can see just the shop claims, or shops here. It's about 246.15, so we'll wait to 247.15 and see if they all vanish. Hey, they vanished. They're all gone. And I think we had a shop in the Nether, so let's just check the Nether out and make sure that that has also vanished. Looks like it has. There's also a shop up around here somewhere. I forget where exactly. I think around in here that is also gone. Yeah, it would have been around this land claim here. So yeah, building our own structure seems to work a lot better. And so the next question is can we get rid of this return here? Can we just continue to build up? Can we delete all the existing markers and then add brand new markers and do that over and over and over again? Is that going to work, or is that going to continue to build up a lot of craft and cause us some issues again? And so I think what I want to do, let's get rid of this return. Let's do an else here. Say else. Splat. What I should probably do at the end of this for is say this dot area markers dot clear, so we don't delete them a second time. And so delete all markers from the map, then we clear our structure. We only have to do this on the first time through. Then everything else should be the same. So we still create everything on the first time through. So the first time through, we won't delete anything because we have nothing to delete. We will create the marker set. Then we will create every marker for all shop regions. The second time through, we will delete all the markers. We will not create a second layer. And then we will create the region markers again. So if everything works, it shouldn't appear as if anything's going on. There should be no flickering or growth of additional markers or anything. So let's give that a test. And if this works, this will be really handy. This will be really useful information for this CoreCraft plugin, because it means I will be able to delete markers and recreate markers. And as we're seeing, it is pretty rapid. I'll probably want to do some testing for how quickly these markers appear and disappear, just so I could see how close to real time I get with this for CoreCraft purposes. I suspect it's not going to be real time, but hopefully it's within, say, 10 seconds or so. That'd still be workable. right, so we have our markers. Let's go hide the land claims, so we have less distractions here. They probably showed up about, what, 250 and 15 seconds. We'll wait for, say, 251:30. I'm just trying to keep an eye on things here and see if there's any kind of visual glitch or anything that might occur when this happens. Not seeing anything yet, and I kind of believe that they would have refreshed by now. And check our code or our blog. It looks like 5048 is when it refreshes. So let's go to 5148 or 52. And that's probably the second refresh. So let's go to 52 and just keep an eye on it, see what happens here. So it's 5148. Our code would have just run. Give it a few seconds to see if any visual change occurs. I'm not seeing it. So this time I'm going to keep oh, interesting. So we appear to have a bug. It's accumulating multiple copies of each shop, so I'll need to revisit that code. There's something wrong there. So I'll keep this up when the refresh occurs, and I suspect it should close my pop-up window because I'm deleting that region. Yeah, so it does close the pop-up window, so that's not fantastic. If somebody has that open, it'll vanish on them. And we've added another jungle boat, so we've now refreshed 4 times and it's adding 4 copies of each shop. If I open up like Empton's shop, that's just going to be crazy because Empton's shop already has a lot of stuff in it. So I think at a basic level, this is a decent workaround. I have on my list of things to do. Let's go over to here. List of things to do. How do we remove update markers on the map? Can we do real-time updates of shop information? So one of the questions is doing real-time updates of shop information. And so I think maybe not for version 1.0, but for a future version, I'll probably do more elaborate checks and only update a marker if anything has changed. For the moment, I'm probably just going to do like a 15-minute timer, similar to how land claims work. Those are updated every 15 minutes. And if somebody has that pop-up open and it closes, then so be it. It's a small price to pay. Then I'll put on my to-do list to do a better handling of that in the future. For the moment, though, we have an issue with these regions here containing multiple versions of each shop. So what I probably want to do, let's go see. Yeah, so we have our shop regions collection. And I probably want to clear that out. So let's say this .shop regions.clear. That should ensure that we don't get duplicate shops each time we run this. So let's go ahead and deploy that and see what this does for us here. All right, so the first version is updated. Let's go take a look. All right, so we have our shops. Let's go turn off the land claims so we can take a look at what is going on here. So we have Jungle Boat, one copy of Jungle Boat. I'll wait for this to refresh. And that pop-up should just close when the refresh occurs. Then I'll check again and make sure that I only have one copy of Jungle Boat. All right, so that just went away. So let's go bring it up again. And yes, one copy of Jungle Boat. I should have one copy of everything here. One copy of everything in Empton Shop. One copy of everything in Pixel Group Shop. So yeah, seems to be working. Let's wait for another refresh to occur. And check it again, but I do think we have a working solution here. At least it's working good enough till I add in a more elaborate solution. And that's either real-time status updates of shops, or we could even make the timing version be a little more intelligent. So yeah, so that just refreshed, and everything looks good. Yeah, so let's go take a look at the code here. Let's see, those marker imports we probably don't need. That was probably from some of my testing. Yep, that's not used, so we'll just make that go away. So I've added this new class variable, area markers, a new linked list. On run, we've made this check a little more elaborate here. So if marker set is not null, instead of just deleting the marker set, we iterate over all area markers, delete each one. Then we clear out shop regions, clear out area markers. If it is the first time we're running, we create the marker set, we set its priority. Every time we run all of our logic, we create our area, we create our, I'm going to just rename stuff here, and we added it to our collection. There's one other change that we did, which was right up here. I want to change this back to 1 hour. I only want to have like one kind of change per commit here. So let's go change that back to 1 hour. As what, 3,600? 3,600. I could make this even more simple of a commit by going through and renaming this back to what it was. That might be a better way to go. If I do like that name, I can always change it, but I like to do that in a different commit, so I have kind of functional commits that this is, and then like non-functional refactoring, rename, cleanup commits. So yeah, so here we add more stuff to the deletion step. Rather than deleting the whole marker set, we maintain our own data structure of area markers and delete each one individually. We then delete the regions, or clear out the regions, clear out our markers. Otherwise, as the first time through, we create our marker set, we give it a priority, and then the very last thing we do is add that area marker to our area markers collection. All right, yeah, so let's go prepare this commit here. So this was delete each area marker rather than deleting the entire marker set. Okay, delete all area markers rather than the entire marker set. And yeah, let's go perform this change here, just so we can have that name be consistent. How to do the rename? Is that Control F6? No. Is it Alt F6? Shift F6? Boom. Done. Shift F6. Oh, I actually need to commit. Don't just add it, but actually commit it. And here's the next change, the rename here. You could say it's a code style change because I'm just renaming some variables. All right, so what's next? So some other things on my list here. Remove debug information is high on my list. Refactor code style and add a config file. So the debug information, that's pretty easy to look at. That's basically all of this junk here. This is the first thing I did in this plugin, was to dump out this debug information, which is very handy when I was getting started, but at the moment it is more of a distraction and we definitely don't want it there. So let's go look for those debug statements. Yeah, so we have this get logger that we want to get rid of. And now we don't use enchantment, inventory, and free space any longer, so let's go drop all of that. And I believe there's another bit of logging once we have our regions. Let's go look at our regions here. Yeah, here it is, this.plugin.getLogger. So let's go drop this. Now this is just a little too lengthy here. Let's adjust my screen so these things all appear. I don't need this to be quite as wide. I don't need to see all the external libraries, because I just want to make sure that this line fits on my screen, and now it does. And I think that is all the login information I have. I'll just do a quick search for logger. Yep, here we have another section here, dividing line. Anything else? That looks like it. Let's go deploy this, make sure that this still works. Along with the other kind of minor changes I made. I don't anticipate those other changes making any difference or causing any problems, but do you want to test that stuff just to make sure you don't accidentally screw something up on the way? Yeah, so beforehand, our plugin would be called on this initialize 116 shops line. And so that's not happening any longer, at least we're not getting our debug information. Here's our map. Let's go take a look at our shops. And our shops are indeed working. The refresh is now on an hour basis, so I'm not going to sit around waiting for the refresh. Everything does seem to be pretty good there, so let's go ahead and commit this. Just double check, make sure we don't have any kind of logging stuff going on here. Yeah, I don't see any. There's still this null pointer exception, but that is from ShopChest and not from me, so I'm not going to worry about that. We've changed just this one file. And we've just dropped all this debug information. That's all we did. Remove debug information. Next on my list is to refactor style code. So the style code is the HTML, CSS style code that we use when creating our regions. All these regions are basically powered by a fair bit of HTML, and the colors and formatting is all driven by CSS. And all that CSS is kind of hand-coded in our code, and it's okay, but I have kind of on my list to clean it up. Particularly stuff like this. We've got these lengthy lines that I want to clean up. And I just kind of want to have all this stuff be better organized. So if we do want to change how the CSS works, we have a central location to set it rather than having to track it down in a dozen different locations. So let's start thinking through some of the CSS things we have going on here. We have, a white background color. We have a height of 1 EM. This must be for a blank line here. I'm not even entirely sure what we're doing here. If current vendor equals last vendor. Just check one of these things here. So we have vendor colon pixel grief, vendor colon emptin, vendor colon queued pixel. Aha, so here we have. So if last vendor is not null, we basically print out a blank line Probably not going to be visible unless we have multiple vendors, which I don't think we do. I think my regions are small enough that we're not going to have multiple vendors in one region. But if we have multiple vendors in one region, this will create a blank line between them. And then we have the actual vendor name. So one row that spans all 6 columns, vendor, current vendor. Then we have a bunch of headers. So I replicate these headers for every single vendor. I could probably get this to go by extending this a little bit. Let's go look up shop region. I think I can make it a little larger, make the region padding be 10. And I think that'll cause some regions to overlap and give us multiple vendors. So let's do that so we can have a good visual representation of what we're looking at here. So this won't be for the final commit, but just for testing this current change and to kind of demonstrate what it looks like when we have multiple vendors. I just wanted to do that one change briefly, and then we'll change it back before we commit here. There we go. Now we have a few larger regions that are multi-vendors. So here we have Pixel Grief and Cute Pixel are sharing a single region. And so yeah, so this is the kind of blank line here I was talking about. We have the table of items, then a blank line, then the vendor, then the header again, then a second table of items. So that's all that formatting gets us there. So just try to think through what to do here. We have got a background color shows up as white a few times. We have border right, 1px solid black, so we have our right-hand border. Do we have other borders? Do we have like bottom borders or top borders? I think it's just border right. Yeah, so what I think I'm going to start doing is just start building up the style strings here. We'll say string background white is equal to this. And of course, that's not used anywhere yet. We'll have to continue to build this up. Then what else do we have here? We have height shows up at least once. We have max height. We could say height empty row is equal to this guy here. And then what is this? So this is like an empty row style. Blank row, empty row. It's kind of the dividing row between vendors. Padding row, maybe. It's called a padding row. So let's say string style padding row is equal to is going to be background white plus a space plus height empty row. Instead of empty row, let's call this padding row. I thought I should be able to use this right in here. We'll just say that plus that plus that. So this is our padding row style. I probably don't even need to have a separate padding row thing here. I could probably just do combine this in and then drop that. Because I think that's the only place where height makes an appearance. We have, I think, a max height shows up. Yeah, here is this overflow Y and max height. I think that's the only place that shows up. So I think I want to have kind of these repetitive stuff will show up once. Like background white shows up all over the place. We'll do that once and then reuse it. But stuff that only shows up once, we'll probably just only use it once. So yeah, so we have our div style, overflow X auto, or sorry, overfly Y auto, max height 75% vertical height. Say string style div is equal to splat. Do I want to put, background in front or background behind? White background style div, or do I want to do div style? Oops. We'll say padding row style. I think I like putting style at the end. It reads a little better. I'll say this is div style. We have table, border collapse, collapse. I suspect this is the only place border collapse makes an appearance, so I think I can go table style here. Table style is splat. It's not perfect. It still has kind of these interjected variables in here, but at least all the styles will be in this kind of one area. And if somebody wants to change styles, it should be easier to find and address in one area rather than having to go through all the code. So I'll just keep going through stuff here. We have admin shop. I just use HTML tags there, so there's no style. We've adjusted padding row style already. Call span, that's not style. Here we have background color. So here we can replace this with our, I think, white background. All right, so here we have background color white, text align center. So this is a header row style. Say string header row style is equal to splat. And we can drop white background, replace that with this. And let's go replace the style with this. I copied the wrong thing on my clipboard. Header row style. So what's next is we have a individual header item. This has a border right of 1 pixel, solid black, text align left. So what is this? This is the very first header. This is the item header. So item header style is probably what we can call this. Now we can see we have a repeating border style here. This border right 1px solid black. So let's copy this border style first. Saying string border style is equal to splat. Yeah, I want to make this all be similar, so I'll say white background style, then we have border style. So we have border style plus this text align left. So the text align left is so that this shows up on the left rather than centered like the other headers are. So let's say string item header style. This will be border style plus a space and that. Boom, done. Then we have item, then another here. This is the border. And so we've already done the border. We could simply replace this. I hate this editor. It thinks I'm pasting quotes into this, and so it's trying to escape them for me here. And then Steve Void 1990 suggests there's an error on line 148. Yeah, let's take a look here. It looks like there is one. Line 148, and yeah, there's a. Looks like I forgot to include a quote there. So good catch. Thank you for that. Yeah, this editor's just going to piss me off, so I'm just going to do this directly. I don't want to unescape these quote characters over and over and over again. That's going to be a pain. I do need to remember to actually add in the quote characters. Otherwise I get a repeat of line 148 again. Alright, so we have our cell header, and then our number header. I think there's any other style here. Now we have this kind of hand-coded or alternating background color here. We have all A's and all D's, so we have basically a dark gray and a light gray. And this gets used here. What did I do for a background color earlier? I said white background style. So I could simply say string background style is equal to Steve1990 asks, does this language allow a mix of double quote and single quote? You find that easier to manage string concatenations. This is Java, and I don't think that Java allows for single quote strings. I know it has single quotes for characters, so if I'm going to say, let's just close this off, char foo is equal to, A, use the single quotes for that. But for strings, I'm pretty sure it has to be double quotes. Yeah, it just doesn't like that. Yeah, Java isn't great for string concatenation. I know like JavaScript and other languages are a lot better and have more options. Unfortunately, Java is a little limited in that regard. Although my memory or knowledge of Java is a little out of date, it's possible that more modern versions of Java add more features, and I just don't remember, or I'm not aware of it yet. Sivo1990 says, that's a shame. Yeah, I've been spoiled by I think JavaScript. I think JavaScript has some pretty good structures, or was it PHP? I think I've been working with PHP for a while, and PHP has a whole lot of flexibility for strings. You could do multi-line strings and auto concatenation and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, Sivo1990 says, yep, PHP allows it. Yeah. Yeah, so PHP is really nice, and Java is a little more limited there. Let's see, trying to get to my style here. Here we go. Unfortunately, I'm kind of going up and down through this code, so I'm beginning to get a little lost with where I'm at. Of course, I copy-pasted the wrong thing. I don't want the quotes, I just want the contents of the quotes. There we go. And then instead of this, what I will do is say add in. Oops, let's do BG color. Now, I suppose what I could do is splat this in here. Let's just try this. That probably works. Just trying to simplify the number of variables here. Don't need a whole ton of variables. So say that, plus that, plus that. All right, so now we have something else here. All right, so now we're getting to the item name. So we're out of the headers and into the actual data. And this is the item name we're looking at here now. So it is bold, which the bold probably doesn't matter. Yeah, it's handled by the strong. But we do have a border right, text align right, padding right of 3 pixels. And we have this show up fairly often. We have that for the item. It's the same stuff. Oh, we've also added in padding left and right. And then probably the end is padding left, but no padding right, and no border. And so here we have like the style for the first item that has the border, text align right, and padding right. Then we have the style for the middle items, which has everything and padding left. Then we have style for the far right item. So maybe left item style, middle item style, right item style. Maybe something like that. Let's start with that and see what that looks like. So say string left item style is equal to that. Up next is middle item style. Let's go grab that. Let's see, where am I? We've got some enchantments mixed in here as well, but I don't think the enchantments do any style work. Yeah, so this is the middle item style, and this is pretty lengthy, so we'll have to see if we can simplify this. Oops. Ah. Yeah, so definitely a little lengthy here, so I'll want to find a way to simplify this. And I think we can do that. We'll just have to experiment with that. And then finally, there'll be right item style. So let's go look for that. Say string right item style is equal to that. Of course, I didn't include the quotes. Yeah, so the right item doesn't include the border. Let's see, I can see I'm going to want these to be aligned here. And we'll turn them separate for the moment. Alright, so I already have a border style, and I think it's all the same, so we can just do this, a border style plus splat, and that allows us to at least drop this much. And so we have text align showing up a few times. We have text align center, text align left, text align right. There's another text align right. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to do that. We'll say string text align left style is equal to this. Well, no, this. Ah. This is one of those cases where the variable doesn't actually simplify the amount of text. But it does allow us to keep this all kind of in one spot. Then we have text align right. Well, let's do left or center. Say text align left, now center style. And finally, text align right. So left, center, right. And that gets replaced in a couple of spots here. We have this guy. And this guy. See, Steve1990 asks, are the grayed out variable names indicating they are unused? Yeah, what'll happen is the editor will highlight unused variables. And so yeah, the gray underlined variables have not been used yet. So I've added these, but I haven't deployed them down below. It's actually really useful. So if I'm going through this and I see down the road, oh, hey, this is all grayed out. Have I ever used it? And allows you to kind of do those checks. All right, then we have one more text align right. Let's go grab that here. I'm debating eliminating the word style on some of these guys. You go to white background rather than white background style, border rather than border style. You'll see, it's just, some of these are getting a little lengthy, so I'm just trying to think of different ways I can clean this up. And so here we have padding right, padding left. Then there's going to be padding of both. Let's try string padding left style is equal to that. Padding right style. So yeah, we can take padding right and replace this with plus padding right style. Here we have this plus Padding that. Something's not working with me here. Let's see. This plus padding left style. There we go. And I wanted to also add in plus a space plus padding right style. Yeah, so now this is getting to be a little too lengthy, so what I could do is say string padding both style is equal to that plus that. Boom. Then here we have text align right plus padding left style. So I think that will do it. So we have left item style, middle item style, right item style. Let's go apply all those things down below. So this here should be left item style. Then we have middle item style. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. I think we could just replace this whole line wholesale on these guys here. Then we have right item style. And I think those are all the styles. So whether this is actually cleaner than what I had before, at the very least it now fits on the line, which is nice. That is kind of the fundamental reason of why I wanted to make this change. But it does mean I've added a whole lot of hard-coded styles up here. But if we ever change our mind about background colors or the types of borders or the size of the padding or heights or any of this, we have one section to go look. And so it's probably a good change, I would say. I think it's an improvement at least. Let's give this a test and see if it works. In theory, if I did everything correctly, everything should work or look exactly as it did before. We will see. All right, so everything shows up. Let's go turn off our land claims so I can see our shops. Yeah, the Queued Pixel Cooked Fish shop looks good. The Empton/admin shop region is looking good. Wish it would scroll down a little bit so it doesn't conflict with that dimmed region, but I think overall we're okay. The cute pixel / pixel grief shop is looking good. Yeah, so I think that's a good change. Let's go reset shop region padding to be 5 again. And let's go take a look at our code. Yeah, so I've added a whole lot of style strings here at the top of this run method. Though I've changed everywhere where styles get used and replaced them with these style strings. You say refactor CSS style code. And the final task on my to-do list before I feel safe to call this good for a 1.0 release is to add a config file. And so to do this, I'm going to look at one of my other projects that does have a config file and kind of steal stuff from it. This would be the stimulus package plugin. And I've built a config file. It looks like, let's see, can I grab it here? Main, resources, config.yml. And so this basically defines all the variables that the plugin uses. And so variables that I'm going to be interested in are going to be things like, let's see if I can find them here. Well, the region, the region padding, I think, is one that needs to be configurable. The other one, I think, is the interval, the update interval. Right now it's an hour, but I think that should be configurable. Let's see, another thing I think should be configurable. Let's see, where is it? Wherever we create the markers, I think I want this to be configurable in terms of the color of the marker. There's other stuff like the line style, the fill style. I don't know, I might leave that alone. Let's see, what do we have here? We have line style. Yeah, so this gives us a degree of, I forget what it's called, the alpha channel, the transparency. So I think we have width of the line, 3 pixels, and then transparency. So 0.75, mostly opaque, but some degree of transparency. And the fill style is 0.25, so mostly transparent. And you can see that you can see through it to the things underneath. And the line, I'm not sure if I'm seeing through the line or not. It's tough to tell, but yeah, I do think I'm seeing just a hint of the pattern through underneath that line. Might be hard to see on stream, but yeah, so I think the 0.75 is having an effect. So yeah, so those are probably things that make sense as well. So let's say we want region padding. We probably want layer name layer priority. Area markers, and for area markers we'll want the color, line width, line transparency. I may have not spelled that correctly. And area. Let's just ask Google, did I spell this word correctly? I did not. Color, line width, line transparency, area transparency. In fact, we could probably get a color, different colors for the line and the fill. So let's say line color, line width, line transparency. Then we have fill transparency and fill color, to give people full control over all that stuff. Now, if we wanted, we could potentially give them configurable options for this stuff. And we could try to take the work I just did on the last commit and move this into a config file as well. I'm not sure about that, because that feels like a lot more work and a lot more stuff can go wrong. But I suppose I could give people access to all this stuff. I don't know, I'll have to think about that and see if I do want to create a config file for that and what it might look like. If I do that, I'd want to undo some of the refactoring I've done here. But we'll see. That might be a 2.0 thing or a 1.1 thing, or see if people complain and want access to that stuff. But I think for version 1.0, I think I'm okay with leaving that alone. And we'll think about that again for version 1.1. So let's make a note of that. Consider adding configuration for CSS styles. All right, so we need to create this config.yml. Let's go ahead and start. Of all these options, let's just do config.yml. And I start with a header, a typical copyright header. And what I'll do is I'll take the copyright header from here. Slide it into here. Now let's add in. It didn't give me a space. What else did we do? We also said a configuration file for a stimulus package. We'll just yoink this and replace that with our plugin. In this case, it is, what do we call it? Dynmap ShopChest. All right, so let's take a look at our notes here. I think one of them that we didn't add was the I don't know what I would call it. There's like an interval, a print interval. Maybe call it a refresh interval. Time interval in seconds. Between refreshing the shop information on the map. Data type long, default value is, I think right now we have it set to what, 1 hour? And we'll say 1 hour. (3,600 seconds). And maybe what I should do is do kind of the full stack for this one element, get this working, and then add in everything else. That'll make it easier to add in everything else because I'll have kind of a testing framework to make sure that's working. So we have this refresh interval is the first start. And I think I don't need anything else here. So up next is how to use this config file. See, bucket or spigot gives us the directory for our plugin directory. This got data folder.toPath. If it doesn't exist, we can create it. See, stimulus package also creates a log directory, so I'm not going to have here. Check version, check config. What does check config do? This .save default config. Though we have some error handling here. Check version. Say there's something about default config. Where was that? Save default config. Looks like that only that must be an internal function. So I wonder if I can just call that without having to create the directory. Let's just give that a try. Let's go to our plugin. Let's go to on enable. And say this .save default config and see what that does for us here. If that does work, or if we get an exception because the directory doesn't exist. Of course, I'm not using the configuration yet. I'm just testing to see if we can how we can deploy it. ShopChest has an exception. So it enabled and there's no exception. Let's go take a look at our server here. Hey, it actually created a directory for us. And it copied it in our config file. Perfect. So I don't need to do anything more elaborate to copy the config file than to simply say this.save default config. So that's great. I actually went to a lot more trouble for that in the stimulus package than I had to. Because in the stimulus package, I do this, check to see if the directory exists and blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Yeah, if the plugin directory doesn't exist, I create it, and it turns out I don't have to. So maybe for version 1.2 or whatever I'm on that, I can maybe clean that up at some future point. All right, so I save our default config. Do I have to do anything else? This.config.get double. Let's just print out some test information here. Let's say this.getLogger.info. We'll say refresh interval. This plus what's this dot. Now how did it work? Let's check config. This.config.get double. This config, let's say get long. And it was refresh interval. So we'll pull that out, and if we make changes to it, will that work as well? So let's rebuild. Let's stop our server. Let's see over here, let's remove that directory and rerun our server. This should give us the default value of, I think, 3,600. Yeah, there it is, refresh interval, 3,600. And so now, if we change our configuration, so let's go ahead and do that now. Let's say 60 seconds. Will that work? Will now give us the 60 seconds rather than the full hour. And I'm pretty sure it will, but I just want to test here. Yeah, refresh interval 60, so perfect. If the config file exists, we use it. If the config file does not exist, we copy over the default one. And if the config file does exist, we use the values that are included in it. And there's really nothing magical we have to do, or nothing special we have to do to get that to go. And so this would be what? We would want to say this config get long, blah, 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 blah. I'm not sure why this is complaining, probably because it's a long versus an int. And I should look up the API for this to see if run task timer is actually taking how long. It might. Whereas I note that the API is now showing up for 1.13. I'm still on 1.10. We'll have to see. This is a task, so it's update shop tasks. What is it? Bucket runnable. So let's go look for bucket runnable and see what it takes for those. Yeah, so these are longs. I shouldn't have put in an int. I should have put it in as a long originally. So that's my bad. We'll replace this with a long, and that should fix that error. Boom, done. What's this complaining about? Typo in Word ShopChest. It probably doesn't like the fact that that's all one word. I'm going to ignore that for the moment. All right, so that's the first case. That's a nice simple change there. Up next is the region padding. So let's see what we call that in our code. The shop region, we called it region padding. All right. This is a little weird because we have it as the static variable. And what I probably want to do is get rid of this and have it always reference our plugin. What does that break? So to get access to the configuration on my plugin, I need a way to link back to it. I can either pass in a reference to my plugin and have it do it that way, or I could pass in the region padding in the constructor. Either way, I'm ever going to add more complexity here. We don't even have a constructor. Huh. So these classes, this class here is really simple. Let's go look at the update shops task. And whenever we build a region, got shop region. Yeah, we create a new shop region, and so here do we even have access to the plugin? We do. We do have access to our plugin, so we could pass it in as a constructor to that. Oh, that feels ugly to have that pointer be referenced everywhere. This isn't even used. So I would have just removed this already. Could I make it non-final? And set it when the plugin starts? Would that be clean? I could say instead of private, make it package accessible. Instead of final, make it non-final. Can initialize that to 0. So if something goes wrong, it'll be really obvious. And then back in the plugin, we could say, all right, let's get rid of this. I don't need this. I'll say shop region. Region padding is equal to this config get. It's not really going to be a get long. It'll be a get int, I think. Get int, yeah. And we will call this region padding. I'll steal this description. Padding between region border and blocks, and shops. Say padding in blocks between region border and shops. Data type int. Default value 5. As not refresh interval is going to be region padding. Voila. Yeah, so this is, well, let's go update this. Have the documentation be consistent. Add an inbox between region border and shops. And that gets set by the plugin. On enable. We look it up, we set region padding, boom. What's next? So we've got region padding. Now we have layer name. So where does that get set? That is set, I believe, in our update shop task. So we have the layer identifier, which is this first variable. Then the name is shops. And so do we have access to the plugin here? We do. And so probably just continuing to use that would make sense. So let's say string layer name is equal to this plugin dot, and let's copy paste here. Get config, blah, 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 blah. Oops. Instead of get int, it's going to be get string. Instead of region padding, it's going to be, I think I called it what, layer name? And I think I like that better than doing it inline. We can try inline as well. That just gets really lengthy. But it does work. Let's try it here as well. Instead of layer name, it's get int and layer priority. I think that works. It's simple enough. We don't need to have those temporary variables. So I'll go with that. So we have layer name and layer priority. So name of the shop layer in Dynmap. Then next up should be priority of the shop layer in Dynmap. This will be an int. Default value. We've set that to what, 10, I think? We got rid of the code, but I think it was 10. Let's just go take a look here. Yeah, 10. Although, I'd be curious what the layer priority of something else is, like, say, the JD dynamic map group prevention. Biometrics, update check, locale, use dynamic map, update, period, layer. Yeah, this is probably a good thing to steal at least part of this from. We can say ordering priority in the layer menu. Order priority in the layer menu of the shop layer. Logos before hi. And I think I want to pull in the in dynamic map. And yeah, if they stick with 5 as default, and I'm pretty sure that's what they did, I didn't set those myself, so I think 10 probably makes pretty good sense here. So we'll leave this at 10. Did I type in default value 10, layer priority 10. Boom, done. Up next, area markers. So we have line color, line width, line transparency. we have line color. Color of the line drawn around shop regions. Data type string. Default value is, I'll have to figure that out here. Oh, it's not a string, it is... Ugh, what is this? Int double int. You're kidding me? Well, the reason why I'm pausing is because it's really handy to specify the color in terms of hex values, because we have red, green, blue, our typical RGB values that everyone is familiar with. And so, as I want to go, can I do YAML, hex, hexadecimal integer? Is there formatting for this? So integers can be like that, OXC. All right, well, let's see if we can get away with that here. Color of a line drawn around shop regions, and it's basically cyan. Then what's next? Line width. So let's say line width, and we default that to 3. In fact, if we go the same order, we'll do line width first, then opacity. Or transparency. Well, we'll get there in a second. Let's see here. Width. Width of the line drawn around shop regions. This is an integer. Oh, this is also an integer. Default value is 3. Let's say I wonder if we have color information here. Just trying to see if we have colors. Yeah, so we have stroke color, stroke opacity, stroke weight, fill color, fill opacity. So they called it opacity. So we have line width. Yeah, so we have line style. So yeah, I think line width, line opacity makes sense. I think we default this to 0.75. So line width, line opacity, line color. Then we have fill style. We have fill opacity and fill color. So let's just grab these guys. Opacity of shop regions. I think we did 0.25. Yeah. And this is color of shop regions. I think I was going to go with what, fill? Yeah, let's go with fill opacity. Fill opacity and fill color. And that's it. So we've got our refresh interval, our region padding. I've coded both of those up. Layer name and layer priority, I think I've coded up. Area markers, I've coded up the config file, but I haven't updated our code yet. Yeah, so I've done the padding. I've done the refresh interval. Refresh interval padding, so I need layer name and layer priority, which I think I've done, but we'll double check here. Yeah, so layer name, layer priority is done. And so yeah, so the next one is all this color stuff. So let's go grab this junk and go make that happen. All right, so line style. We have an integer for the... where is it? So line width, line opacity, line color. So say get string or get int line width. And let's just wrap this whole thing here because it's going to be easier that way. This is get float. Or a double. I guess we'll do a double. This is line opacity. Yeah. Line color. I guess that works. Then we have a fill opacity. So let's go grab this. And then fill color. Yeah, so that should all work just fine. Let's give this a build and see what this does. So So I'll just remove the old config file. Let's build and bounce our server. So the first test will just be to see if anything broke by this change. It should all look identical to what we had when we started. And so we'll just make sure that our map still shows up. Let's go close up some of these things here. Perfect, yeah. So we have our shops layer, and it's at the bottom. Our color and everything is looking correct. And so let's go change everything about this config file. Let's make the refresh interval be 60 seconds so we can test that. Pixel Grief, hello. You have to head to dinner. All right, well, thank you for hanging out. And enjoy dinner. We're looking pretty good here, so I think I will be able to wrap this up today and go deploy this to our server. And hopefully we'll have this all working. So enjoy dinner, and I will catch you next time. All right, so we've got a refresh interval of 60 as opposed to 3600. Region padding, let's bump that up to 10. Let's make the layer name to be shopping districts. Just something vague and generic, but different. Ordering priority, let's go to 0, so it should be at the top. Line width, let's go to 5, so it's a little bit wider. Let's go with, say, 3.5 for the line opacity. Oops, and I got a typo here. Let's go with 1.5 for the fill opacity. And let's go fix that typo now that I see it. That should be 2.5. For colors, let's see here. Let's do the first and last being all Fs, and then let's do the first and middle being all Fs. So both the line and the fill should be different colors now. Let's go ahead and bounce our server. And now everything should be different. All right, so it looks a little funny. Let's take out the land claims. Yeah, so we're showing up, so markers and players must be priority 0, so we're showing up at the bottom of those, but they're showing above land claims. So yep, the priority seems to be taking effect. And yeah, we've got purple, and it does look wider, and that does look less transparent than, or more opaque. And yeah, we're having the color yellow, and that is also fairly opaque. Now we'll test the refresh interval of 60 seconds. Yep, that just refreshed. We will test that again here. But as far as I can tell, it looks like every aspect of the every aspect of the config file has taken effect, and I can change every value, and it works. I'm able to specify colors using hex values, so that's very handy. The opacity is working, layer name, layer priority is working, refresh interval is working. So everything about the config file seems to be working. Yeah, so that refresh is still working every 60 seconds. So that's great. Let's go take a look at the code and see where we are at. So we've added this new config.yml. Let's just go glance at that and make sure that everything about this all makes sense. So we've got our standard copyright header, Dynmap, ShopChest, blah, 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 blah. Configuration file for Dynmap ShopChest. Description. Time interval in seconds between refreshing the shop information on the map. We could say on dynamic map. I'll say on dynamic map there as well. So a time interval in seconds between refreshing the shop information on Dynmap. Data type long, default value 1 hour, 3,600 seconds. Boom, refresh interval 3600. Description, padding in blocks between region border and shops. Data type int, default value 5, region padding 5. Boom, done. Description, name of the shop layer on dynamic map. Data type string, default value shops. Layer name shops. Description, ordering priority in layer menu of the shop layer on dynamic map. Low goes before high. Data type int, default value 10, layer priority 10. Description, width of the line drawn around shop regions. Data type int. Let's see, let's make that a lowercase. This was actually a double, so let's make that a double. Make this lowercase. Double, lowercase, just to be consistent across the board here. So width of the line drawn around shop regions, data type int, default value 3, line width 3. Boom. Description, opacity of the line drawn around shop regions, data type double. I should confirm that is indeed a double before I go too far here. Set fill style. Yep, it is a double. Cool. Oh, where's my config file? Keeps hiding on me. Yep, so that is indeed a double. Default value 0.75, line opacity 0.75. Then description, color of the line drawn around shop regions. Data type int, default value 0x00ffff. 0x00ffff. Looks good. Fill opacity, description, opacity of shop regions. Data type double, default value 0.25, fill opacity 0.25. Description, color of shop regions, data type int, default value 0x00ffff. Fill color 00ffff. Everything looks great. So it looks good to me. We've changed a bunch of other files here, so we'll take a look at these too. So on enable, this is our on enable function of our plugin. We do this.saveDefaultConfig that will create our plugin directory and then copy over the default configuration if it doesn't exist. If it does exist, we just use the existing configuration. Then we set the region padding of the shop region class. It's a static integer. And we do that just so we don't have to pass in stuff into the class that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of a simplification there. We've updated update interval. It was a long, it was an int, now it's a long to better match the bucket API. Was hard-coded to 3600, now we get the refresh interval. Updated the comment to just say it's 20 ticks per second. shop region. We had this to be a private static final, and now it's just a package accessor static int. It's no longer final, and it's no longer private. Pad in inbox between region border and shops. Then here, when we create our layer, we look it up using the getConfig layer name. We set the priority based on the configuration. We get the layer priority. And then when we create the area marker, we set the align style and fill style based on the configuration. And that all looks great. So I can't think of anything else to add here. Add config file, and I could say more about it, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's go delete all these weird changes I made to our config file, so next time you start the plugin, it'll go back to the default settings. Now let's take a look at my to-do list. So I have nothing else on my task list. So for issues, we can remove markers, but not as part of an iterator on, I forget what it was, what we were using. See if I can find it here. Was this dot marker set dot get markers. But not as part of an iterator on marker set dot get markers. So just deleting and re-adding markers to update them. Actually, right now, currently, we delete and re-add all markers to update them. Have not tested updating markers. So it's possible we could actually update markers in place, and we have not tested that just because there's some additional complexity that I'm not prepared to deal with just yet. Can we do real-time updates of shop information? We probably can. The work we've done here to test how to remove and update markers on the map, I think we'll go a long way towards that. And I think is good for a 1.1 or further out release, but I think for 1.0, I'm okay with the update once every hour or every 15 minutes or whatever approach I'm taking. Are potion effects important? Everything I've seen says that that not really, that pretty much everything we get about potion effects is what we need. However, ShopChest does have some special handling of potion effects, so it's still on my list. And if I run into it in the future, I will address it. And finally, consider adding configuration for CSS styles. So we have all of these styles here that control how the regions are displayed. And it has occurred to me that we could move this into like a YAML configuration. I don't think I'm going to do that for right now. I think I'll save that for a future release if anyone complains about it. But for a 1.0 release, I think we're fine. And so the last thing I would be tempted to do is to look at any errors and warnings that IntelliJ is giving me. And I see I have several kind of errors and warnings here, so I kind of want to just look at that. And just see if there's anything obvious to address here. So we have 2 warnings and 6 typos. Typo in word ShopChest. Yeah, so I think we want to save ShopChest to project level dictionary. That should fix most of that. We also have Dynmap, typo in word Dynmap. Let's save Dynmap. Alright, so we have this method onShop initialized event is never used. Well, it is used. It's called by bucket. I'm not sure how to make that go away. 2 warnings and 1 typo. Where's the... parameter event is never used. Well, yeah, because who cares? I had the same... I think I had the same issue with stimulus package. Did I deal with this at all, or did I just ignore these warnings? Was it a task, or was it an event? I think we had the plugin, and we had events in here. On player join event, add event handler, and I think I just ignored these. So I think I will continue to ignore. Where is the other typo? Oh, non-infringement? Typo in word non-infringement. Well, let's add that to our project level dictionary, and so now we should have just the 2 warnings that I'm going to ignore. So there's that. Shop comparator. No problems found. Excellent. Shop region. 1 warning. Where is this 1 warning? And what is it? Access can be package private. Ooh, yes, it is right. I can make that package private. Let's do that. So now that is clean. There's no problems found here. Update shop tasks, or update shop's task. This is going to be a little more challenging. 21 warnings and 2 typos. Holy crap. Let's just start going down the list, though, and see what we got. So we have append. String concatenation as argument to this. Yeah, I figured you might not be happy with that. I was wondering if this would be an issue. Inspection reports, string concatenation used as the argument. Such calls may profitably be turned into chained append calls, on the existing string buffer, saving the cost of an extra string buffer builder allocation. This inspection ignores compile time evaluated string concatenations, which when converted to chained append calls would only worsen performance. Well, it is right. So we could do... Oop. Dot append. Div style. Dot append. That. And I guess that'll work. It certainly is a better approach. Dot append tab style or table style. Dot append that. And it is making the warnings go away, so I think we will just continue with this. Dot append padding style. Dot append that. Call span, blah, blah, blah. No issues here. Then we have an append here. And an append here. And here. So it's not too bad, I guess. Still fairly readable, just don't need that. So yeah, that's not too bad. It's going pretty quickly here. Anything else? Oh, yep, a few more items down here. See, append background style. I'm getting sloppy. Then dot append, the ending bit here. Append left item style. Append the closing brace. And a few more. This is the middle style, so we can replace this wholesale. Right item is different, so we will address this differently. What else? Looks like there's a couple more warnings down towards the bottom here, so let's take a look at those. What is the warning here? Condition. Other shop region, x right greater than equal, x right is always true. Condition other shop region x right greater than equal to shop region x right is always true. So let's think about this. So we say other shop region x left is less than or equal to shop region x left. Then other region x right is greater than x left. Shop region x left. Other shop region x left is less than or equal to shop region x right. So what it's saying is with these three conditions, this fourth condition is always true. And I vaguely recall this being the case when I worked out this math originally, that only the first three conditions were necessary. And I put the fourth in just for completeness sake. But the wording is telling me that it's not necessary. So let's see here if the... So x right, we already know it's greater than or equal to x left. And we know x left is less than or equal to x left. It is too late in the day for me to try to do this analysis here. So let's see if I can come up with something to make this work. So we have two regions. We'll go with this little region here. And so we have kind of, x and y and x and y. So let's go take a look at the code here. So let's say the left of one is less than the left of the other. So, and this is for both left and right x of this region are inside other region. So both are inside. So to do that, I have to make this even smaller, which I can't really do. So let's compare it with this other region. So, and what two regions are we talking about? So we have other shop region is less than R left. Yeah, so this left is less than this left. And the right of the other region is greater than R left. Yeah, so the right of this is greater than R left. Yeah, that is correct. So we now know that the left is completely encased inside the other region. Now we say the other left is less than R right. So the other left is less than R right. And yes, at this point we know that this entire region is within this. It'd be nice if I could have this in a nice text box so I don't have to keep alternating back and forth here. Let's see if I can do this. Come on. Maybe. Will this work? Not quite. Well, here we go. It'll work for down here. So the other region left, so this one is less than ours, yes. The other region right is greater than our left. And so with that, we know that this left edge is completely encased in this other region. There we go. The other region left is less than or equal to our right. So this left is less than our right. Is that true? Oh, that's true. Is that what it's asking though? So the other region left, so this left is less than our left. This left is less than our right. Well, this seems pointless because now if our left is less than their left, let's see, so our left is less than their left. So let's see. Our left is less than their left. Our right is greater than their left. Our left is less than their right. So yeah, if our left is less than their left, then our left should also be less than their right. I don't know, it is way too early in the day or late in the day to be doing this kind of analysis. So left 1 is less than left 2. Right 1 is greater than left 2. Left 1 is less than right 2. And right 2 is greater than, or right 1 is greater than right 2. So we know that right 2 is greater. We know that shop region x right is greater than x left. So this and this, this and this, or this, this, and this. So the left is inside, the right is inside, I don't know. If it says I can get rid of it, I think I'll just get rid of it rather than trying to understand. This is why I have version control. So there's still 2 typos found. So let's see if we could find the typos quickly. It'd be nice if it highlighted them for me. We have call span. Typo in word call span. Well, that's... let's add that to our dictionary. All right, so that's clean. Yeah, let's go down the list here. So we have, I think, one warning here, a couple warnings here that I can't address because it's complaining about this event that is called by an external library. So it has to be public. And this is the interface. We need to pass in the shop initialized event, but we don't use it. And so we're ignoring that. Shop comparator is clean. Shop region is clean. Update shop tasks is clean. Config YML is clean. Plugin YML is clean. Well, let's do a quick build. Make sure that we haven't screwed up anything. Go ahead and deploy this to our server. See, did I delete that config file? I think so. Yep, it's gone. So yeah, let's fire up our server. This should reset our config file back to its defaults. And we will take a look and make sure that everything shows up. All right, so our regions are correct, our colors are back, our layer name is back, our layer priority looks good. That looks good. Everything is looking pretty good here. Let's confirm we can scroll. Yep, beautiful. Yeah, so I think we're pretty much set here. Let's go look for a commit. So here we've changed the builder calls to get rid of these internal concatenation and do chained append calls. And here we got rid of these unnecessary comparisons. So this is fix IntelliJ warnings. All right, so let's take a kind of a quick look at our documentation, specifically our README file. All right, so this plugin is no longer under development. It is now ready for use. Still depends on Dynamic Map, ShopChest, and Vault. Installation, I still don't have a binary release. I'm going to force people to build it themselves, and I'm fine with that. Compile, run Maven package, install, copy it into your server plugins directory. Yeah, so I think let's do a commit to get rid of that under development line. development section from README. Let's go ahead and push that to GitHub and take a look at our new README, make sure it all looks good there. Excellent. Under development is gone. So I need to bump the version. Let's go look at our plugin YML. We have our name, we have our version. So we want to remove our version here. We depend on Dynmap, ShopChest, and Vault. That all looks good to me. So yeah, let's just start removing versions. So we've got that. We have our README. We have our POM. Now, what is going on here? Dependency blah 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 is not found. Well, that's weird. If it's not found, it wouldn't build. I'm gonna have it refresh. I'm not sure why this is not found. Because I have my ShopChest. It's not my ShopChest repository, it's a fork of ShopChest. And I've created in my own branch this queued pixel build 112.3. 2 commits ahead, 70 commits behind. Wow, somebody's been working on ShopChest. I might want to look at this and see what they've been doing. I'm not sure why that is not being found. That's weird. Alright, so we dropped our version here. We've dropped our version out of the README, or the snapshot. We've dropped the version out of plugin YML. I believe those are the 3 places where that matters. Let's go stop our server. Delete our Dynmap ShopChest. Let's go to our plugins directory. Let's remove we've got Dynmap-ShopChest. There we go. And let's copy projects. So let's see if this still works. Yeah, so enabling Dynmap ShopChest version 1.0.0. Up before, it should have said enabling 1.0.0 snapshot. Yep, there it is. So that looks good. Let's go just make sure that our map is still working. Excellent. Looks pretty good to me. And let's go steal the commit comment from stimulus package. See, update files for 1.1.0 release. Yep, that would be it. Instead of 1.1.0, this is 1.0.0. Let's go ahead and push that change. Yeah, so that's been changed. Now let's go. We need to figure out how to tag this. So I'm done with this test. I think I can, I'm okay with making this go away now. We've figured out our issues with the dynamic map. And so next on my list is how to do a release. So we have this tag. Git tag AM version 1.1.0. This is 1.0.0. So we have comment and tag name. So let's go ahead and tag that. .1.0.0. Then I think we need to push tags. Excellent. So let's go take a look, and we should see one release show up here. So let's go refresh this, and boom, one release. We've released version 1.0.0 of this plugin. And I'm going to, over the next day or so, go deploy this on our server. Hopefully, it works better than the last plugin I released, where I found a typo pretty much immediately that required me to go and do a new release because I screwed up the name of the folder I was using or something. I forget what it was, but I basically had to do a new release right away. But this should be good. We've got 1.0.0 out there. I'm not aware of anything else I really want to do right now. We certainly have some future work to look at as I have time for future plugins. But for today, I think we're pretty good. So this is a great stopping point for me. Finishing up a project and being able to wrap that up is always nice. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Thank you for watching. And I will catch you guys next time.